company. Sun is shining, the beaches are packed, cricket is on, and the Australian Open is heading to the business end. But we're here as usual to talk football, so let's get stuck into it. And joining me to do that, my co-host, VIG. Good evening, my friend.
Good evening, and welcome back to sunny Sydney.
Mate, like I said, if you had money on who was going to be the sunniest holiday I took, Melbourne, Japan, or Queensland, you would have done your dough, because I thought Queensland definitely, in summer would have been a lot nicer and a lot warmer than 6 degrees in Japan, Tokyo, but I was wrong. So still a nice getaway with the family, but it's nice to be back. It's nice to see your shining face and your sparkling Brazilian jersey there. Very nice. Is there a number and a name on the back?
There is. If I lift it up, it's the number 9. Your boy Richarlison.
It is Richarlison.
Yeah,
mate. Like I said, I wish he was on the park at the moment and starting games. But like I said, as per most of the Tottenham players since the turn of Christmas, outstanding for their country and not so good for Spurs.
Yeah, look, I did like one thing he did. He didn't shake Martinelli's hand in that game against Arsenal. So hats off to him for not doing that and denying the handshake and walking away from it and giving Martinelli a little spray. So always good to see the love still there.
And I'm thinking maybe, like I said, obviously we're football nuts, but I'm loving the tennis. Maybe next year we do one live from the Australian Open. We go down there, we just set up a little tent somewhere, and we just we'll probably have a few guys yelling out, "You're at the wrong sport." But I think it'd be entertaining. We can do the show either during the day or the night, and then we can watch tennis the rest of the time.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I'll do the show in the grandstand if I have to, or whatever. Rod Laver Arena, put me on if they're telling me to be quiet. So be it.
Mate, they might need a bit of star power. They've lost the Feds. I think they've also lost Rafa. I think Andy Murray probably be doing his swan song after his marathon here, and so all you got left is the Joker. So maybe they need a bit of star power next year.
Yeah, maybe they do. Maybe we can get a call up. Who knows?
All right, last week I mentioned to the listeners that they wanted me to keep giving VIG heaps, and after his beloved United won the Manchester Derby and Spurs lost the London Derby, I was in no position to do so. But times are changing, and a week in football is a long time. And whilst Arsenal continue to show the Premier League they are the benchmark, taking a 5-point lead over City with a game in hand at the top of the table, they did so by scoring a late winner to defeat poor old Manchester United 3-2. Lucky me.
Yes, lucky you. I don't know. You're a Spurs fan, so I'm not sure how Arsenal winning the Premier League will sit with you. But yeah, look, disappointing week for United after such a big win last week in the derby. The draw at Crystal Palace, they should have won that game comfortably. Let that one slip away, and then this morning, to be fair, they were in the game for 60 minutes, and the last 30 minutes, Arsenal were just outstanding. United couldn't get their foot on the ball. The Arsenal midfield were incredible. Odegaard, he's probably the best player in the league right now. And then you look at their signings. Trossard comes on and has a hand to play in the winning goal, and Saka and Nketiah are on fire at the moment. Saka's absolute freak at the moment. He's almost unplayable. So hats off to him. I think the better team won this morning. And they're going to be, only Man City can probably stop them now from winning the league.
Mate, I was going to say, so how do you like them apples? But like I said, I think you're eating humble apple pie like I am at the moment. And, obviously when they lost Jesus, it looked like they were going to struggle, but young Eddie Nketiah bagged a double, including the 90th minute winner. And, mate, I'm not going soft at all. I'm still not a fan of the Gunners at all. But I'm honest in the fact that they are by far and away at the moment playing the best football in the Premier League. I think City's a distant second. They're very predictable. It's like, you play out wide to Grealish, he cuts inside. You play outside to Murray's, he cuts inside, and it's slow motion. Whereas Arsenal's is not slow motion. It's fast. It's dynamic, and you don't know where it's going. Like, it's not predictable. You've got guys all over the park that are just buzzing at the moment. So, yeah, look, I think unfortunately for you guys, you ran out of gas. And no, I'm not cheering for Arsenal to win the title, but I have a choice. If Arsenal keep winning, we're a chance of making top 4. If Arsenal lose to teams like United, not only will Arsenal probably win the title, but we won't make the top 4. So I had a choice to make. I don't care. If we're not winning it, I don't care who wins it. It's not going to be us. So I just hope we can get ourselves into a Champions League spot, because if we don't, trying to buy players next year is bloody impossible when you go, okay, so what are you playing in this year? Oh, we're playing in the Carabao Cup. We're going on a tour of Singapore.
Conference League.
Yeah, sorry, mate. We'll give you a call back, and then they change their number. So, yeah, look, both of us, I think, at the moment are fair enough judges to say that Arsenal have done an outstanding job. And you know what? I think, you know, besides Arteta needs to take a bow for what he's done there at the club, I think a big hats off and a big kudos to Pep Guardiola, because when he was under the pump and they wanted to axe him, Pep said he's a fantastic coach. They should stick with him. Now, when you have someone of that pedigree, it's not just some punter off the street. You've got a guy of that quality, probably arguably the best coach the Premier League's ever had, saying that it carries a bit of weight. So they were smart enough to listen to someone like that. They've kept him there. And not only are they at the right end of the table now and looking like they'll break their premiership drought, but they're playing amazing football. I think obviously not having Champions League football has helped, but if they were in the Champions League, I think they'd be going a lot better than a lot of other teams, but they'll be there next year. But yeah, look, fingers crossed. I'd love it if they could fall over now and we still make the four, but I'm not going to get greedy. I just want to get some Champions League football. Moving back home, players on the move. So huge news is Dwight Yorke departs Macarthur by mutual consent. Anthony Carter's also leaves to explore other opportunities. So just before we move on to a few of the others, big play.
Yeah, it is. Huge news. I think Andy Harper dropped it on the coverage on the weekend that Dwight Yorke was leaving Macarthur, which in a way I find a little bit surprising. But maybe he has somewhere else to go in the league or potentially elsewhere. He didn't really set the world on fire, but at the same time, he's done okay with the cattle that he had at Macarthur and the resources he had at Macarthur. So, I think it's only halfway through the season. It's a bit of a weird one for me. There's something's obviously happened there. There's been a breakdown in the relationship between Dwight Yorke and Macarthur and the board there, and they've agreed to terminate his contract by mutual consent. So. Watch this space. I guess he's been linked to the Sydney job. If Corica goes, who knows? But for me, I don't think he's done enough yet to prove himself to go to a club like Sydney. So it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up.
That may be Bull's gift to you. I know you're a big Sydney fan, so you'd love to have all night Dwight there. But I find it a bit surprising too, and you don't know what you can believe and what you don't. But in the change rooms, he's supposed to have said to the chairman as well as the players that they're rubbish. It's a circus. It's a joke, and they're a pub team. But I know he likes nightclubs more than he likes pubs, so maybe that's what he had against the Bulls. But look, in a league where they've brought him out to try and help grow the league and expand the brand, it's not a smart move to be doing that. And like you said, he hasn't done a great job. It's not like he's sitting on top of the table and he's had 10 wins and a draw and he hasn't dropped a game yet. His team was struggling, so for him to come out and say it's a pub league, is he a pub coach? Because he really hasn't. There's coaches there, Nick Montgomery and coaches like that, are lapping him at the moment. Absolutely lapping him in tactics, in quality of football, in results. There's not one category other than maybe what restaurants he can get into at short notice that he's got any of these coaches covered him.
Yeah, look, he was obviously a great player. He played at the highest level. Was great for Manchester United. Was great here when he played for Sydney FC. Won the league. And he's a big name player, but like you said, he hasn't done much for me as a coach. So, it's a weird one. It was a weird appointment to start off with. I get it. He's got that star power. He's got that that X factor he can bring to the league, and he's the whole purpose of having him here was being able to attract players to a club like Macarthur and grow that team and grow the club and make it a real, open up opportunities for the league, so to say. So, and I don't think he's done that, to be honest. And I don't think the football they've played warrants that. I don't think there'll be players from the other side of the world in Europe, the UK, screaming at Dwight Yorke and calling him up saying, "Get me to Macarthur. I want to play for your team." So, something's obviously happened. It doesn't, it doesn't seem right.
It doesn't add
up.
It
doesn't all add up. We're all sitting here scratching our heads, but. At the same time, if he was to go, if Sydney were to go after him now, I don't think that's the right move for Sydney FC. I don't think that they need a coach like that one, and they don't need to get involved in. It's a bit of a circus at the moment. Dwight's calling he's the club and his players pub players, but like you said, maybe he's a pub coach, so maybe he needs to go back to the Sunday League and. Ply his trade there before he gets another gig at a top club.
Right, there is a bit of bull dust going on there, but I'm sure it will clear eventually, and we'll find out what's happening. But the only positive to come out of it is the fact that they have appointed Mile Sajowski, who not only had a really good playing career, but from all reports, he's a good coach. He's a players coach, so the players all like him because he not only knows his stuff, but he's also a decent guy. So I think he's got a son who plays, I think, under 15s at Blacktown. So he's still been in the links. He's been the youth coach there since their inception in 2020. So he's been around the traps. So apparently he was offered the job before Dwight York. He didn't feel he was ready. He's now decided that the time is right. So they finally get their man. So look, hopefully he does well. I think, like I said, he gets in there and he's able to, start to put a footprint on the club there. They were playing first season fantastic under Ante Milicic. Last year they lost their way, and then again this year they've appointed a guy who's had as much coaching experience in the A-League as I have. So I don't know if it was a great move, but moving on quickly to the others, Nick D'Agostino signs with Viking FC in Norway. Christian Theo Harris, they must have been listening to me. He linked up with the Mariners. So we were saying last week, go and get some of these players either on loan or buy these good young players who come back from overseas with big raps on them and who aren't getting any game time and bring them into your setup. I think Montgomery will get the best out of him. Jordan Elsey ends his short stint with the Jets by signing with the Glory. And rumour has it Callum Newhoff could be departing for Scotland. I hear rumours around Celtic. And now that that's when they were saying, is this true, Virgil? When they were saying that there's going to be a B League, I thought they meant here, not Scotland. Isn't that?
That is our, maybe the A League is the B League and the Scottish Premier League is now the A League.
Another one who's already joined. So besides Neuenhoff, the rumour, James Jecko's gone there. He's just signed with Hibernian, I think he has, and there's the four boys over at Hearts.
At Hearts, yep.
Yeah, so there's lots going on. I look, for me, I find a move for D'Agostino to Vikings. The Norway League for me is not even the top 10, 15 leagues in the world, so it's a weird move for me. If he's going to go somewhere where, okay, maybe he doesn't go with the big five, but go in the next five. You know what I mean? Like maybe the Dutch league or something else. But I don't know why they're sending him there.
Yeah.
The Vikings.
Honestly, I don't think it's a too bad a move for him. Yes, it's not a huge step up to go to Norway, but you're in Europe. You're in touching distance of the other clubs now, and they will be watching him. And Viking is a club that develops players and will sell them on. So it's not a huge step up, but you are in Europe now, and you will have more eyeballs on you. So I think it's the league itself is decent. There's some big clubs there coming out of Norway. Rosenborg, Molde, Brann, who are back in the top league now.
I've seen this VIG too many times. They go there, and if they don't get any game time, they come back here with their tail on their legs. And if they do well, I still don't think there's big clubs all chasing them because they go, well, okay, if they're in the top 5 leagues, maybe yes, but okay, even if you're doing really well there, the next group of guys around you kind of have a look. So you don't really.
Yeah, but I'll be honest with you. I don't think Nick D'Agostino can go to a top 5 league right now. So he's got to go somewhere else. He's getting his chance in Europe. He's got to take that chance. But like you said, he has to play, right? So it doesn't matter where he goes. He needs to play. And if you play, there will be clubs that will come after you. You play and score. If he has the same record that he has at Melbourne Victory, at Viking in the Norwegian league, if he bangs in 15, 20 goals a season there will be clubs that come after you. A player from Rosenborg, Danish striker, scored 15 goals last season and just signed for Benfica. So, it could happen. He just needs to play. He needs minutes. That's the most important thing. And with minutes, he's a striker. He needs goals. If he scores goals, anything can happen.
So if that's his last goal ever in the A-League against Adelaide, nice way to go out.
He needs a few. He needs a few of them in the Norwegian league, and set him on his way.
Surely that's where the video that his agent sent over that goal against Adelaide, it was just on repeat. It was on loop. Right?
It was top 10 goals, but it was just that goal on loop for every single one of them. But yeah, phenomenal strike that was.
Mate, that's just you in a bit of Photoshop. You just change the jersey, right? You just change the jersey and just change the angle. All right, plenty of fun with On the Ball in the starting lineup again. It gives us a chance to introduce a few players to the listeners while also teaching us and showing us who knows more about the A-League stars. We wrap up match day 11 of the A-League women's competition, Revolutionised Round-up of the latest men's fixtures. Is there anything I didn't see, VIG?
Well, the Bundesliga was back this weekend, and Dortmund there was a 7-goal thriller between Dortmund and Augsburg. So 4-3, absolutely cracking game. If you haven't seen it, watch the highlights. But there was some terrific goals scored.
Mate, Dortmund's my team, but you lose a little bit of faith when they sell that star that's now over at City, right? So you watch what you had, and it's like watching, the one that got away. So yeah, look, as much as I'm a big fan of Dortmund, it's really hard when you lose your golden boy, right?
Yeah, it is phenomenal player, and they're a club now that they're a club that needs money and they need to sell players, and more than likely they'll lose their next golden boy in Jude Bellingham at the end of the season, I think.
Yeah, no, very sad. All right, A-League women's wrap. So Phoenix with a breakthrough win, Victory and Wanderers doing a double shift, while Sydney, Jets and Perth got to put their feet up. Wanderers and Victory fought out a scoreless draw. Western Sydney, thankful the woodwork had their back. So I think Victory hit the post about 15 minutes in, so game could have been different. So luckily for them, Western United bounced back from last week's first loss, defeating the Raw 2-0 to send USA guest star Jessica McDonald out on a high note. She was fantastic for them, and unfortunately, she is returning to the women's US League, so she won't be here for the remainder of the A-League season, and it will be interesting to see how they recover without her. A routine first half header from Hannah Wilkinson is enough to give City a tight 1-0 win over the travelling Wanderers, so they did the double shift. 2 second half goals from Victory overturned Adelaide's opener, ensuring the away team head back to Melbourne with all 3 points. And the Phoenix with their first ever A-League win, and at home, thumping a very off-colour Canberra 5-0 in Wellington. What the foot?
Yeah, what the foot, that last one. Wellington Phoenix 5-0 back at home. First, I think, is that their first win?
It's their first, so they've picked up, I think, 2 draws so far, but they haven't even got close to bagging 3 points. In Canberra, we were saying a Smokies, right?
We were raving about them last week, saying how good they're going up, moving up the table.
We put the kiss of death on them, and to be honest, if it was a Melbourne or Sydney team, you'd be saying they're either the whole team got the weekend off to go to the Australian Open, or maybe they're up watching the cricket or something. But in Canberra, I don't know what you can do. So I'm not sure if they stayed home or if they just decided they didn't want to get off the bus or what was happening. But it was just a very, very, very poor performance from Canberra, and maybe we put the reverse on them this week. They're no chance of making the 4 now. I don't think there's any hope they can even get close to the 4.
Yeah, interesting. Look, mate, hats off to Wellington, 5-0. That's an absolute thumping. So good luck to them. It's good to see them get their first win. But my performer of the week, I think, was Alex Chidiac in that Melbourne Victory Adelaide United game. I think she scored a goal and had an assist. I think she could be a smoky for the Matilda squad going into the World Cup.
Yeah, I loved everything I saw from her in that game too. So quick look at the A-League women's table. So top 4, Western United still leading the way on 24, Melbourne City 22, Sydney FC on 18, and they also on the same amount of points as Melbourne Victory, who ran out the top 4 on 18. Adelaide are a further 5 points back on 13, and Canberra United, after their flogging by Wellington, back on 11. Western United still with a game in hand, and Sydney with 2 games still to play. My weekly wrap has been replaced by our shout out, dedicating a weekly song to a team or a player for a good or bad performance. This week's shout out goes to Western United for all the right reasons. So last week it was because of the fact that they gave up their undefeated start to the season and gave the Wanderers a great win. But this week it was for the right reasons. What a goal, what a player, and what an entertainer. Alessandro Diamanti for his cracking goal against Sydney, and for the special gifts you allow Aussie football fans to experience on our soil every single week. So, and the song we send to you is EMF's track, Unbelievable.
You're unbelievable.
Is from the Coyote Ugly soundtrack from way back in the year 2000. But just like this song, you get better with age. How good was it when he was interviewed afterwards and he says, "Thank you to myself." The guy is golden. He is just absolute legend.
Yeah, look, he's what a goal. Firstly, like the vision to pick that out, and that's over Redmayne, a Socceroos goalkeeper that's just played or just gone to a World Cup. So, to have the vision to do that and then to be able to execute it, absolutely phenomenal. And then, like you said, after the game to thank himself. What does he say? Unbelievable kick, unbelievable. So it was incredible, great goal. That's just technique. He's been doing that sort of stuff for years, and just having the audacity to lift your head up and see the keeper off his line and to have a dig from 40 yards out or 40 meters out, pretty much.
How amazing Would it be being Diamagic's social media manager, where after he does something like that, you just read through, right, and you're getting messages from Balotelli and that saying legend, best, all these guys, like all these football royalty, absolute stars of the game are all just sending messages like we get from friends saying, "Oh, you're the best, Diamagic, what a goal," this and that. Oh, you just love it, wouldn't you? You just sit there,
Yeah,
Diamagic for 5 minutes, and you just reply saying, "Oh, mate, it's just another great goal in a million goals I've scored."
yeah. Look, he's a big character, and he's obviously, he's a leader, and he's obviously and he's an enigma. He's a big character in every single dressing room that he's been in, whether it's club football, the national team. I think everyone just loves him. He looks like a top guy to be around, a fun guy to be around. And he's an ultimate professional. He hasn't played that much this season, but when he comes on, he does make a difference. And we need more players like him in the league, and hopefully he gets some more minutes and starts starting matches for Western United, because he's when he came on, the game changed. But we'll touch on that later in the roundup.
Bravo, Diamagic. A-League men's table, quick look at the tables. So Melbourne City on 27 with a game in hand. Central Coast Mariners back 5 points on 22. The Wanderers on 20. Wellington also on 20. Adelaide on 19. And Macarthur Bulls on 17. The chasing Mariners and Wanderers were unable to take full advantage of City dropping points. Phoenix's strong form continues, and Glory and Western United hoping this kickstarts them climbing up the table. For the listeners, Revolutionised Round-up, we talk about the score, the goal scorers, the players of the game, the turning point, and what either Coach VIG or Coach Gio would have done to change the result of the game. The first game and the only game on the Friday night was Adelaide United versus Macarthur Bulls. Tell us how you found this one, VIG.
Yeah, I'm going to race through this one. So it was a 1-0 to Adelaide United. Zach Clough, the goal scorer in the 6th minute. Player of the match for me was Joe Gauci. I think he's got to be in the next Socceroos squad, no doubt. He's been great. He's been great.
Does he get in for his dancing, or does he get in for his goalkeeping?
Look, he can get in for his dancing for me. I would have picked him already for his dancing, but no, his goalkeeping's been phenomenal. So he needs to be in that squad. The turning point, obviously Ben Wallen got sent off in the 17th minute for a last ditch tackle. Unfortunate, but he did show studs on Craig Noon. So that changed the whole complexion of the game. Adelaide had to, pretty much shut up shop after 17 minutes and hold on to their 1-0 lead for the rest of the game. And then Jay Coleman from Macarthur got sent off in the 56th for a second yellow. So that pretty much killed it for Macarthur.
Tell me this, G. So this is 6 red cards this year, including the FFA Cup for Adelaide United. Is that a discipline problem?
Yeah, it's not good. It's I think Isais has picked up 2. Yeah, I think this was just a clumsy challenge. I don't think Wallen's played much the last month, so he's come back into the squad probably just a touch off the pace. And yeah, it looked like a bad tackle, but I don't know.
It's very high, isn't it?
It is very high. I don't know if it's a problem, but maybe it is starting to become a problem if it continues. So. It is a lot of red cards for
these aren't away red cards either. These are home red cards.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's tackles. It's not like it's back chat or players getting sent off for doing stupid things. They're in tackles, so they're in challenges. Maybe it is starting to become an issue now that you put it that way. But hopefully they rectify that. And you never want to see. You don't want to have coaches telling players to pull out of tackles and things like that. So I'm hoping it's not too much of an issue for them moving forward.
Mate, what about if we stop calling them the Reds and call them United? Maybe that's the problem. Maybe because we're calling them the Reds, they're thinking they have to live up to their name each week and get one to match.
Yeah, potentially.
We'll just call them United.
Call them United. That's it. Done.
All right, moving on to sorry, you've got.
Yeah, I got one more. What would I have changed? Well, I don't know. It's a bit late for Dwight York to change anything now, isn't it? But maybe you take off Jay Coleman at halftime. He already had a yellow at halftime, so potentially take him off at halftime and throw an extra striker on. You got an extra man up, or put another attacker on. Arzani, bring him on at halftime. So, that's what I would have done.
maybe don't book your ticket in the first place to come to Australia again. That might have been the turning point, as well as the what I would have changed. But moving on to the first of the 3 Saturday games, and that was Western United hosting Sydney FC. Tell us about this one.
Yeah, look, there's only one thing we need to say about this one, and that's Alessandro Diamanti, absolute brilliant goal to win the game 1-0 in the 86th minute. Yeah, he was my player of the match. To be honest, it was a boring game. There wasn't much happening. Very, very slow, very chess-like. No one really took the game by the scruff of the neck and took it to the opposition. So the turning point for me was when Diamanti was subbed on in the 80th minute. Only took him 6 minutes to chip Redmayne, absolute goal and a half. And then what would I have changed? This is a stat that I saw. Sydney FC starting 11, the average age was 32.1, and Western United starting 11, the average age was 30.7. So I think that's probably reflective of the style of football both teams are playing at the moment.
It's over 35. Saudi
Yeah,
35.
it is. It's slow, and you look at teams like Central Coast and Wellington, even Adelaide to an extent, and the pace, or Melbourne City, they have a bit of an older squad, but they've got a few good younger players, and the pace and style that they play is a lot different to what Western United and Sydney play. So, give the youngsters a go. I think something needs to change at Sydney. Corica needs to roll the dice with something. It's not working up top. Lafondra's not scoring any goals at the moment. Maybe it's Patrick Wood. Give him an extended period of games. Back-to-back games, 3-4 games in a row where he can prove himself. They can't do any worse than what they're doing at the moment. So maybe it is time to out with the old, in with the new, and start looking towards the future.
Yeah, the problem is I think Sydney were going for names that are already established who can get the job done now, and rather than guys like Tilio, who are a work in progress, who eventually you reap the rewards and you get them for a long period of time as long as you can hold on to them. And that's what's come back and bitten them, right? Unfortunately, they're stuck with guys who can do the job now, but the game's changing, and you're right, it's starting to become faster paced, and you got to start to be able to be more adaptable. So unfortunately for both those sides, it could be a long season if they can't start to find issues. They're not going to be relying on Diamanti every week, and Sydney aren't relying on anyone on a consistent basis. So, all right, moving on to the second of the Saturday games. It was Brisbane Roar versus Melbourne City. A quick snapshot of this one. Roar gives as good as they get as both keepers shine. As the game ends 0-0, Brisbane earning a well-earned point off the league leaders. Holmes and Glover are outstanding. So there was plenty of goal mouth action. I think, I haven't seen a team, test City like that for quite a while. I think, like I said, we've talked about Austin. We've talked about, they need another big name striker, but I think Armiento and Joe Knowles and that, they were fantastic the other night. Henry Hoare, and that's a team that you're talking about that's got young guys that have taken a risk on young players, and they're going up against the best team in the country and given as good as they get. It was fantastic to watch, and it was exciting as a football fan in Australia. It was exciting for the potential Socceroos future. It was exciting for the league. It just goes to show, right? Doesn't matter what your CV says. Go out and do the job. Doesn't matter how young, how old, how many caps you've got. If you're good enough and you're going well enough, put them out in the pitch, because I'm happy to watch any good footballer at the moment. Doesn't matter where they're from or what their pedigree is.
Yeah, and reflective of that was the crowd up there, and that stadium is probably perfect for Brisbane Roar at this stage. It's a small boutique stadium. It's got stands on 3 sides, yes, and there's an atmosphere up there now that the side's doing well. People are turning up to watch, and it's good to watch on TV as well. So hats off to Brisbane Roar and Warren Moon at the moment. I think he's doing a great job, and like you said, with the players that he has available and the young players that he's brought in. Now they've played, they've played 11 games this season or something like that together. So they're building on that, and 13 games now they've played. So it goes to show that you give these youngsters a chance and give them a prolonged stay in the first team, and you'll reap the rewards, and that's what Brisbane are doing at the moment.
Mate, if it wasn't for Glover pulling off a few fantastic saves, they would have got all 3 points. and they've kept the J-Max and these sorts of star players pretty quiet. So lots of good things coming out of Brisbane. The last of the Saturday games was the Perth Glory hosting the absolutely struggle street Melbourne Victory, as sad as it is for me to say that. The final score was 3-1 to the Glory. The goal scorers were Ryan Williams in the 37th. Brillante claimed one in the 69th, but it was a Roderick scissor kick that hit him in the side of the head. So I don't think he knew much about it, but he's taken the credit for that in the 69th to draw the team's level in 1-1. And then a guy who's returned to the league, known as Adam Taggart, scores in the 80th and the 87th to kill off the game and give the Glory a much deserved 3-1 win. The player of the match for me was the returning Socceroo A-League and Glory star, Adam Taggart, with a brace to kill off the victory. And, he was only on for 30-odd minutes, but just goes to show, right, class rises to the top because he only needed 30 minutes to go out there and say to the victory, you're going bad, but you could have maybe pinched something off this game, but I'm not going to let that happen in my return to the league and return to Perth. So he did what he needed to do. The turning point for me was really simple. It was the introduction of Taggart, but also Jacob Dowse, who provided both assists. He whipped in two fantastic balls.
Lovely balls, weren't they?
Oh, they were beautiful. They were absolute, and they were just like, come get me. And Taggart's like, I don't need to be invited more than once.
If you're going to dish that up to Adam Taggart, he'll gobble that up, every day of the week. He's a poacher in the box, and it goes to show, he hasn't played for a while, but put it on a plate for him, and he will finish. So. He's a natural goal scorer, and another stadium or boutique ground that looked fantastic on TV. I think they had a packed house there. You got Melbourne Victory coming across. The Perth fans have packed it out and turned it on. And right now, for that club, for Perth, the way they're building with young players as well, that is a perfect venue to pack that out every week and create an atmosphere. And they've had a few back-to-back home games now. And they're playing some good football and winning. So hats off to Ruben Zadkovic. We probably said at the start of the season he might be one of the first managers to go. So he's doing a great job with the youngsters, and it's good to see people turning out to watch these football games.
Yeah, look, I don't always get everything right, and I said that he needed to get rid of Bruno and let Bruno go and prosper somewhere else, but it probably did the world of good for them because Bruno's not doing anything at the Victory. He comes back to play against his old team, didn't do much at all, and they seem to have just absolutely grown an extra leg since Bruno's gone. So that's not to say Bruno was the problem, but maybe it's not the Bruno that we know. Maybe it was a Bruno that was taking up some space there and some cash that they were better off spending on someone else, and they've brought back a Taggart now who is a lot more mobile striker, and adds a totally different dimension. So, look, I'm not too proud or too embarrassed to say I was wrong. I think it's worked out absolute wonders for the Glory. The Glory's gone up, and the other side of the seesaw was the Victory, and they've gone down. And that's not solely on Bruno, but it just hasn't worked out. So, the other thing I want to touch on just before we go into what I would have changed is the fact too that I don't often pat the VAR on the back, but I think they got it right in the game where there was a clash between Clisby and Chris Economides. They gave a red card. I don't know if it was a bit harsh, but they gave a red card for going at Economides' throat, so they sent him off. They gave Economides a yellow. He was then told to review it, and he looked at it, and he revoked the yellow card and gave him a red, which I think was probably fair. It was either both red or no red, and I think he'd already sent one, so the other had to go. So it was handled well. It was handled the right way, and I think it was a fair decision. Whether it was the right one, I don't know. It could have been a toss of the coin, but I think excellent job to the referee as well. I think it was Lucas, and to the VAR, fantastic, bravo job. What I would have changed is, look, I don't know if there's much I would have, losing D'Agostino without much warning, plus Bruno and Tommy Juric still not finding their feet. Popovic needs someone to step up and start scoring. Okay, Nani wasn't at his best, but he was also creating. So you've lost Nani, you've lost D'Agostino. Is there a player within, or does he need to replace the man he lost? I don't know what the answer is there. You think he's got enough talent there, but they've had this talent all season, and they just seem to be treading water. So does he need to go out and get a young guy who adds a different dimension, who's a different player, and give him a chance? Or Bruno and Tommy Juric are similar sort of players. They need good service. They're not going to run around all day and do a Mitch Duke or a Adam Taggart and throw themselves around and offer that that speed option. They're both balls to feet and get in the box. So maybe they need to go out and purchase someone in this window before it slams shut.
Yeah, I think they need another attacker. They need a winger, a number 10, or another striker that gives them a different dimension up top. Because obviously Juric He's nowhere to be seen at the moment. Fornaroli is, like I said, a bit off the pace. He hasn't really done anything for victory since he's gone there. But I think they need someone who's a little bit more versatile, a little bit more dynamic, can spread the defense a bit more, and give him that verticality, I guess, and get in behind defense. So whether that be on the wing or up top, I think they definitely need to bring someone in before the end of the window.
Most definitely. Travelling over to New Zealand, the Wellington Phoenix hosted the Central Coast Mariners, so a top four clash. The Phoenix, just buzzing to have both their teams, their men's and their women's teams playing. This was the first of the Sunday games. What was the score here, and what did you like?
Yeah, look, this was probably my match of the weekend. I thought both teams were phenomenal. They both play exciting brands of football at the moment, with Montgomery and Ufak-Talay at the helm in Wellington. Final score was 2-1 to the Phoenix. Goals in the 32nd to Alex Rufa, and the 40th.
First in the A-League?
He's first in the A-League, yes. First professional goal, I believe.
Okay.
And to
goal scoring machine.
Goal scoring midfielder, yes. And then in the 40th minute to Oscar Zawada, and then
at the moment.
Consolation to the Mariners in the 92nd, Benny Nkololo. But they were in the game for the entire 90 minutes. The Mariners, they had some great chances, but Wellington get away to a 2-0 head start, and it's hard to pin them back. But they almost did it in the end. They had a few chances in stoppage time to maybe get a draw out of the game. So my player of the match was Alex Rufo. His first professional goal for Phoenix in the A-League. The skipper, he was everywhere. He was all over the place, and he was absolutely buzzing after his goal. And it was actually his first game back in Wellington since May 2021. So
did he have a celebration? Because he hasn't obviously had any practice, right?
No, he had absolutely no idea what to do when he scored. He just ran away in hysterics, and I think the boys just surrounded him and ruffled his hair up a bit. But
they were all disappointed because either they've lost a lot of dosh, right, because they've bet that he wouldn't score this year, or he's avoided the nudie run around the pool table. So they're disappointed either way.
I think they've all seen the nudie run for too many seasons in a row. I think they were all pretty happy they didn't have to see that one again. But
true. Yeah,
look, the turning point for me was the Wellington second goal for Wellington. It was a lovely ball in from the right from Callan Elliott. He also had a really good game, and getting up and down the wing and putting some nice balls in, and he's sort of starting to form a bit of a relationship with Costa Barbarouses, who's playing in front of him. So he's been very good for Wellington, and Oscar Zawada, he's on fire. So it's a great find from Ufak-Talay and his staff to bring in a player like that, Zawada, and Kraev as well. We've been talking about him.
Kraev has gone quiet since Zawada's caught fire, right? So I don't know if they can only have one person on fire at the Phoenix at a time, but while they've done a switcheroo, but yeah, like I said, Kraev has been sent off since and been a bit quiet since Zawada started taking the limelight.
Yeah, look, as long as one of them's on fire and scoring goals, that's good for the Phoenix. But they'd obviously love to have both of them on fire. But they've both been great finds and great additions to the league. So looking forward to what they do in the back end of the season. But
that's the same thing with the football revolution. As long as one of us is going half decent, we don't care how the other one's going.
Yeah, the other one, someone can one can drag the other one along with them. That's all that matters.
Happy dragging, VIG.
That's it. All right. So what would I have changed? I thought Paul Ayongo, when he came on, he was a handful. He came on with about 30 to go. Maybe if I was Monty, I'll roll the dice at half time with him, and I think he made a double sub at half time, but maybe made a triple sub at half time, and thrown Ayongo on because he was running all over the place and putting a lot of pressure on the Wellington back four. And almost, they got a goal late, but they could have had another one, the Mariners, to tie the game up at 2-2.
It was a bit of magic at the end too. So not only did they the Phoenix get the job done over the high-flying Mariners, and their women's team getting their first victory, a 5-0 win at home. But both teams winning, but their fans ran on the pitch. There was photos. I saw our good mate David Ball ran on with both his sons, and they came on with him and on the walkout. So a really, really special day, and one that I think the Phoenix faithful won't forget in a hurry.
Yeah, definitely. And look, it's good to have Wellington Phoenix playing in Wellington in front of their home fans, in front of their families and friends. And it's great to see the fans on the pitch enjoying themselves after the game.
All right, and the last of the round was the second of the Sunday games. We'll quickly rush through this. It was the Newcastle Jets versus the Western Sydney Wanderers. Final score was 1-1. The goal scorers were Angus Thurgate with a well-taken header in the 37th, and then Ollie Bozanic from the spot in the 64th, levelling the game up at 1-1. For me, man of the match was Thurgate. He got the Jets goal, and he's not getting my man of the match because of the fact that he scored only. It was simply that he was scheming all afternoon for another. He was trying to set others up. I think basically with almost the last kick of the game, he played a through ball through out of nothing for Hoffman at the back post, and he should have scored the winner. He didn't. He fluffed his lines and kicked it straight at the keeper. So I think he did everything he pretty much could to try and get the Jets the victory against a really good Wanderers side, but it wasn't to be. So no thanks to the efforts of Thurgate. They didn't walk away with 3 points. I think he did as much as he possibly could. The turning point for me was really simple. 1-0 up in the 60th minute. Sotirio was put clear. He was a few yards in front of the Wanderers' defence. He took way too many bad touches, slowed down and allowed Gabriel Cleur to cover and kick the ball out for a corner. And a few minutes later, the Wanderers get a penalty and Bozanic steps up and equalises from the spot. So I think if the Jets had taken a 2-0 lead, I think it would have been game over. Thank you very much. And they would have taken a big scalp against a really good Wanderers team this year, but it wasn't meant to be. And the Wanderers were brave enough to pinch a point. What I would have changed is the Wanderers failed to make their dominance count. They had 64% possession, but only one goal. They didn't create enough chances, and they didn't convert the ones that they did. I think they're in real need of another classy striker in the squad to be a real contender. If they can get another striker who basically can score some goals, for example, if they'd picked up Taggart, I'd say these guys would almost be the front runners now. I think for the league, they've tightened up their defence. They've got an excellent keeper. They've got a really good back line now, but it doesn't leak many goals. They've got some creative midfielders, but then because they're lacking a striker, not only are they not taking the chances or getting these chances they should be, but they're playing Brandon Borello, who's an excellent wide player up front, which means you've lost a great midfielder to put a guy out of position who's not a striker. So I'd rather take a risk on a young guy or go out and purchase someone. So if they can solve that problem in this window, Marco Rutten has a real chance of bringing some silverware to the black and red faithful.
Yeah, 100%. I know Cassini Yengi was out injured on the weekend, but for me, he's the number 9. I need to play him up. You need to play him up top, but if they're going to play 2 up top, I think they need to bring someone else in as well, because I think Suleiman Krpić, the Bosnian they brought in, just hasn't really done it for me. And do you let someone like him go to bring another striker in, or go on the search to bring someone else in? So it'll be interesting to see what they do, but I think they do need another attacker. And like you said, you want Borello playing on the wing. I would have Yengi up top with someone else. I think Ollie Bozanic's been a huge boost for them back in the midfield, playing really well, and he's a leader. Takes penalties, scores penalties. So having him back is huge. But they need, like you said, I think they need one more player up top, and they could be the front runners to challenge City, I guess, for the league.
Even on loan, just get someone for the rest of the season. Worry about at the end of the season working out who's your long-term solution, but just get someone here that bags you 5 or 6 goals. It probably gets you an extra, half a dozen points and puts you in pole position to get a real crack at the title. All right, that's the end of our Revolutionised Roundup. Up after the break, we welcome back to the starting lineup on the ball, as well as our clinical finish. We'll catch you then.
You're listening to the Football Revolution.
Welcome back to the show. We're in danger of becoming a little bit too serious on the show. We love to have our fun and our laugh and our jokes, even though we do know a bit about football. But with giving our players a rest from the player escape room and having too much on with the World Cup, we've cut out our on the ball for a few weeks now, as well as our what else, lost in translation and some other things. So we thought tonight, for a bit of a change, before we start getting some of these big hitters, A-League players back in the player escape room, we'd have another crack at on the ball, which usually is quite entertaining for the listeners, and gives me a chance to show how bad I am against VIG. So The way it works is on the ball. It returns for the new listeners. VIG and I play a Guess Who style game to get to know the players in the league. We ask each other 3 multiple choice questions, and the most correct answers wins. Hopefully, I can finally win one. I've not been able to break my drought yet. I don't know what that's called. There must be a name for it, but absolutely rubbish. No matter how hard I try. I'm going to try and write the answers down, so at least I'm a chance of at least picking one of the answers, because I don't have the best memory at this, but I think you're 5-0 or 6-0. You're unstoppable. So you've been good enough to let me kick off. So I'm going to go first. I'm hoping that a score of 0 would give me a chance of at least getting a draw. I don't know if I ever had a draw. I think I might have got a sudden death, and that's the closest I've got and still lost.
Oh, I don't know. You might have had one draw. Might have given you a sneak, but maybe I think we scissor paper rocked it, and I still won. So we'll see how it goes.
We've even disclosed to each other before kickoff which players we've done, and I'm never even tempted to even look it up, because I just want to win once fair and square, right? It wouldn't matter if someone fed me the answers now. I'd just shut my eyes or block my ears. I just want to be able to beat you for fair and square once and for all. So I'm feeling good, but I've said this every time, so that means absolute nothing. So I'm going to get stuck into it. You ready to play?
I am. Let's go for it.
All right, the player I've chosen has been a colossus for his new team, the Wanderers, and is exactly what they were searching for. So when the board was looking for someone to shore up their defence, I know that a very important part of that was bringing back Tommy Mersla last year, as well as bringing back former Victory goalkeeper Lawrence Thomas, and and a few others, Gabriel Kleur, to name a few. But obviously, Rudin wanted somebody like himself who's going to marshal his defence, who's in there and solid as a rock. So the player that I've chosen, he is the 35-year-old Brazilian-born defender Marcelo Antonio Guedes Filho. He's a 6'3" powerhouse, but he's also very composed on the ball. He's born on the 20th of May, which makes him a Taurus. The cutoff is the 20th, making him a bull. So I think that's quite appropriate, because he's shown earlier in this year, when there was a couple of all-ins, that he was going to pick someone up and choke slam him, and it would have been, I think he would have been last man standing. If this was a 20-man battle royale, I would have my money on him. So he looks the part. He's a big powerhouse, and like I said, he's a great leader for the club and exactly what they needed. He's had an excellent European career and was a fantastic signing for the league. We definitely need more of the players like this to take our league to another level. But if you're a Wanderers fan, you'd love him. And if you're a fan of one of the other A-League 11 teams, you'd be scared of him. So I think he's exactly what we need in the league. So, mate, if you're ready to play, I'm hoping that, like I said, the motion gets probably 0, and that gives me half a chance of being able to pinch one and getting my first ever on-the-ball victory. You ready to go?
I'm ready. Look, I've got my Brazilian shirt on. Feeling good about this one. So
I never knew this, but this is a bad sign for me.
This could be a bad omen for you, or maybe a bad omen for me. Who knows? But let's do it.
Mate, you know your stuff on most players, so I'd be absolutely shocked if you didn't know something about Marcelo, considering you're a defender and he's one of the best in the league. So what is the highest level Marcelo has represented his country, Brazil? Is it A, under 17s, B, under 20s, C, senior level, or D, not at any level at all?
God. All right,
I'm happy to give you a 50-50 on one of these two. If it helps you out, I'm happy to give you a 50-50 at any of these. You just need to let me know, and I'll strike out 2 of the incorrect answers.
This is good. I'm going to go with under 20s for some reason. Don't ask me why.
Yeah, the correct answer for the jammy bloke wearing the Brazil shirt is under 20s. He's had 4 caps. You are absolute freak.
There we go. Yeah, look, I'd written off senior team because I can't remember the last 2
players around. Yeah, the quality of players.
You got Thiago Silva and Marquinhos and the like. So I can't remember him in my time seeing him play for the senior team. But he's played at some big clubs in Europe. So I just had a feeling he'd probably played under 17s and under 20s.
Yeah, I was just hoping you said none, and I was going to then laugh in the face and say, "Hey, mate, you've got none from one." But absolute class as per usual. So moving into the second one, he made 91 appearances, scoring 5 goals for which Dutch football club? A, Ajax, B, Feyenoord, C, PSV, or D, AZ Alkmaar?
Oh, I have a feeling there was another famous Brazilian that played for this club. And I think there's been a few other Brazilians that have played for this club as well. So I am going to go with PSV.
The correct answer is PSV. What an absolute weapon.
Look, Yeah, look, that was honestly that was a bit of a guess. I know he's played in France, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. I had a feeling he'd play. I must have seen it somewhere, but
Of course you did. Honestly, like
yeah.
you just tell, it's just mental telepathy. And the thing is too, I almost gave it away because when I was writing it, I said, he made 91 appearances scoring for which Dutch powerhouse, right? And I thought, well, that's going to rule out probably at least one, Alkmaar.
Alkmaar's gone.
Yeah, and then I'll end up putting my foot in it and saying it's not a cleaning product. So Ajax, that's gone, right? Ajax, so they're gone. So then I thought that leaves two, but it wouldn't matter if I gave you one of 50. I think you're still going to get it anyway. You're just absolute freak of nature. All right, so you're 2 from 2 and absolutely flying. So for a clean sweep here, I don't know. I know you normally win in style, but I don't remember the last time you did a clean sweep and you still got your 50-50. So you're looking the goods. Final question for a perfect score. Which European team did he make his most appearances? Was it A, PSV, B, Lyon, C, Bordeaux, or D, Besiktas?
Oh God, I have a feeling it's one of the French teams, Lyon or Bordeaux. I'm gonna go with Lyon.
You want to use your 50-50? No.
Do I need to?
No, it's up to you. I don't know. You want to make sure you get 3 from 3?
Well, it could be Besiktas. No, look, I'm going to go with gut feel, and I think it was Lyon.
Absolute round of applause. So he made 121 appearances between 2017 and 2021 for Lyon Football Club. He also, for added bonus, played 11 games for Lyon B between 2021 and 2022. So he's made 132 appearances for Lyon in some capacity. PSV, as we said earlier, was 91. Besiktas was 32, and Bordeaux was down on 11. So absolute superstar. I think he's absolutely been a godsend for the Wanderers this year, and you're just an absolute another planet when it comes to on the ball. So I think on my bucket list, it will never get ticked off is beat BIG in on the ball. Honestly, I'm more chance of being able to surf with sharks than I am of being able to beat you.
If you're hanging around Mick Fanning, then you're a massive chance of surfing with the sharks.
Or hanging around with Michael Clark. Or hanging around with Michael Clark.
I promise I've never stalked the bloke, but yeah, he's had a phenomenal career in Europe. Played for some huge clubs, Lyon, Besiktas, PSV, and now he's at the Wanderers, and he's been great for them. So looking forward to what he could do for the rest of the season, and he's going to be crucial in their push for silverware, I guess.
Yeah, put me out my misery. All right, who you got for me? What questions?
All right,
get wrong?
Yeah, this you could be in danger here because I've gone for someone a little bit left field, someone that people in the league probably haven't heard much of because he has just arrived, and that's Brisbane Roar's new striking Marcel Shanadi, I think it's pronounced. He's an Austrian, born in Vienna, 25-year-old attacking midfielder who has played in Austria, Germany, and most recently in Croatia. And he's joined Brisbane Roar from HNK Sibenek in Croatia's top flight. So attacking player for the Roar. I'm actually looking forward to seeing him play and seeing what he can do because we've been saying they've been crying for that creative player up top. And he could probably really complement Jay O'Shea in midfield. So looking forward to what he can do. He hasn't had a huge career, but he's played youth level at some big clubs in Austria and Germany, and he is the son of a former professional and a coach as well. So looking forward to what he can do in the league and what he'll add to Brisbane Roar's squad.
I'm looking forward to what he brings on the pitch, but I'm not looking forward to answering or crashing and burning these answers. So put me out of my misery. Come on, fire away.
All right, let's do it. He played in Germany as a youngster at under 19 and second team level for which German Bundesliga club? A, Bayern Munich, B, Borussia Dortmund, C, Borussia Mönchengladbach, and D, Augsburg.
D, Augsburg.
You going with that? Is that?
Yeah, it's either Mönchengladbach or them. I'm going with D.
All right, so you're going So you've narrowed it down to Gladbach and Augsburg.
Yeah, I think if you, what I was hoping you'd do is you do when your dad tries to help you when he says, is it A, then B, or C, or D? I was hoping you'd start doing that for me to help me out, but and maybe I just adjust the sound when I'm doing the editing. I was hoping that you'd give me, but you haven't. So look, it's probably neither of those. Even if I use my 50-50, I think I'm probably going. Look, I'm going to use my 50-50.
All right, I'm going to give you Gladbach or Augsburg. They're the two. You eliminate Bayern Munich and Dortmund. He hasn't played for them, so
Gladbach. C.
You're going for Gladbach. All
Yeah.
right, you've thrown your 50-50 in, and believe it or not, it's worked. You are correct. He's played for Borussia Mönchengladbach at under 19 level and for their second team.
Good on you, son. Great job. Get in. Okay, 3-1.
There you go. All right, 3-1. You're off the mark.
Consolation, or am I going to tie this thing up?
Well, we can only find out. So let's get into it. I mentioned that he's Austrian. I said, who was the last Austrian to play in the A-League? A, Thomas Broich. B, Christian Dorbas. C, Mark Janko. Or D, Richard Winbichler.
C, the Sydney FC striker.
Going with Mark Janko.
Yeah, Mark Janko.
He's probably the only Austrian you remember playing in the A-League, but you would be incorrect with that one.
Yeah, who is it? One of the names I've never heard of.
Yeah, it was D. Richard Winbichler. He last played for Melbourne City in August 2020.
What did he do? Wear a tracksuit and hide in the bus?
He didn't play many. He didn't play many games. But I had to research hard and wide to find out when he actually did play his final game, and it was after Mark Janko. I think Janko.
I wish he was still playing, because next time we play on the ball, I'm going to choose him, and you'll never find any info on him, so you won't be able to get one answer right.
That's it.
All right. So the last consolation. All right. What's the final
consolation one? His father, Damir Chanadi, is a former player and former coach. He was just sacked. So hint at this one. Just sacked by which Croatian football league club? HNK Šibenik, Hajduk Split. A, HNK Šibenik. B, Hajduk Split. C, Dinamo Zagreb. Or D, HNK Rijeka.
A, the club that he left. He left because his old man got the punt.
You are correct.
Spot
on.
I might not have some knowledge as you, but I'm not stupid. So
his old man got punted in September, and he hasn't played a game since. I think he's been on the bench and out of the squad. And so something's going on there. Where his dad's been sacked from the club, and he hasn't played since, and he's moved on as well. So look, it's a
blessing in disguise for the Raw.
He could be a little diamond in the rough. We don't know. He hasn't had like I said, he hasn't had a stellar career, but he's played at Austria Vienna as a youth footballer, and then in Germany with Borussia Mönchengladbach. So he comes from some sort of pedigree. He's had he's played at some big youth clubs and big clubs in Europe, in Austria and Germany. And then he's had a bit of a mediocre career so far, bouncing around a few clubs in Austria and now in Croatia. So I'm interested to see what he can do and what he can bring to the league. And like I said, Brisbane Roar, they don't have that. They haven't replaced Charlie Austin with a big star, but they've brought in a few players, and I'm looking forward to what they can do at the back end of this season and really build on the start to their season that they've had.
We wish him good luck, and the good news is his dad can come out now and watch him play in the A-League because he hasn't got a job. So moving on, that's the end of our On the Ball. Congratulations, mate. Way too good. Back to the drawing board for me, which I say every single time. But look, I'm going to bring it back in the next few weeks. And look, eventually, maybe one day you get sick and tired of beating me and you throw the game. And look, I'd even take that, I think. But congratulations, 7-0 or 10-0, whatever you are, mate. Way too good. As we call you, you are the walking encyclopedia of football. You're VIG stats man. You're just way too good for me. So congratulations. Moving on to our final segment of the night, which is our clinical finish. Let's get through this quickly. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but my what the foot is a rumour that All Night Dwight could be a replacement for Steve Correca if Sydney show him the door. Simple facts. The Bulls are 5-2-6, 5 wins, 2 draws and 6 losses under him. 16 goals for, 18 goals against. not a great brand of football, and didn't really impress me with his stint at Macarthur. So I'd be super disappointed if Sydney appointed him. I know he was their first marquee when the A-League started. I know there's a lot of magic there. I know there's a lot of Cinderella story about him being their first player and how successful Sydney were when they became the all-night Dwight Bling Bling Club. But I don't think he's a man. He hasn't proven to me he's ready to be a first-team coach. It's not to say he's not going to be one, but I don't think his place is Sydney FC. So for me, if that is true and he does take over Sydney, what the foot, WTF for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, like I said, I don't think he deserves a job like that. I don't think he's done enough with Macarthur. Yeah, the circumstances are different at Macarthur. They're a new club to the league. They don't have the resources. They don't have the fan base. But the whole purpose of bringing him there was to try and build that. He wasn't going to turn him from a small club to the biggest club in the league in half a season. So there's obviously, like we said, something's happened there. There's been a breakdown in the relationship between Dwight, the players, and the board. And the board have had enough, and maybe Dwight's had enough as well. And yeah, they've mutually terminated the contract. But if he ends up at Sydney FC, I will be extremely disappointed. I don't think he deserves a shot at this stage. If he goes away and he coaches another team and he does really well for 1 or 2 seasons, great. All right, bring him over, because he does have that star power to potentially bring some new players into the league, and maybe at a club at Sydney FC, it might be a bit easier for him to do that, to attract those players as well. So great, but at the moment, no. For me, if he goes to Sydney FC, that will be a huge what the foot. I don't think it's the right move for Sydney at this point in time, and it's not the right move for Dwight at this point in time. He hasn't done anything. He hasn't proven himself. It's a big no from me.
I don't care if it's the cowbell ring or the bling bling. Either way, I don't think he should be at Macarthur or Sydney FC. It seemed like a panic, sort of a throw at the celebrity starboard. Look, for him, I reckon he could be your assistant this year if you get a coaching gig. I know there's some teams chasing you, trying to convince you to switch the boots for the clipboard. If they do, I'm happy to offer him as your assistant. If he does a year or 2 under you, especially VIG stats man that knows more about football than anyone, then he might be ready to have a crack at maybe MPL by himself, or maybe that sort of level in the coming years.
Yeah, look, I'll be happy to have Dwight as my assistant anywhere at any team, as long as he takes me out to a few nightclubs with him after the match. That'll be fine. Sign him up.
Probably more exciting for Giannis, because he knows that he'll be set when he gets older. He doesn't have to line up anywhere ever if he's hanging out with all night Dwight. But
all night Dwight.
All right, exciting round of games this week. Games to watch. 2 teams struggling, so desperate. Big Blue Thursday night. The Sydney FC versus the Victory. Usually, this is the top of the table clash. This is the bottom feeders at the moment.
The cellar dwellers. Can we still call it the Big Blue, or do we call it the Small Blue? I don't know. Don't know what it is, but yeah, it is. It's Australia Day, Thursday night. It's a tradition in Melbourne, and both clubs are struggling. Both clubs need a win desperately. A loss for either coach, and it could be the end of either of them. Corica or Popper could be shown the door.
I hope it's a good game, and I hope it doesn't turn out to be the big word rhyming with blue. But moving on to Phoenix against the Glory. I think both teams Phoenix in excellent form. The Glory really starting to find their feet, and Taggart now, came off the bench on the weekend, but you'd expect after his performance that he'll start. So really interesting game there. Mariners hosting the Wanderers, another game. Wanderers coming off probably a lucky draw, and the Mariners an unlucky loss, but either way, neither team picked up 3 points. So that'll be a really important game for both these teams. And then City entertain Adelaide. So some really excellent games, 3 excellent games here over the weekend, as well as Thursday night's desperation battle.
Yeah, huge fixtures. The distance derby, Wellington and Perth, both teams flying at the moment. It'd be interesting to see how Perth go with the travel, I guess. Notoriously haven't performed too well, either teams, when they have to travel, something like 8-hour flight or something like that. So that'll be interesting. Macarthur Western United, also interesting, with Mile Sturjovski taking over there. So looking forward to that. I think Saturday's got three bumper games back to back, and then the Sunday game between City and Adelaide has always been a good clash. So looking forward to a big weekend of football, and it all kicks off on Thursday night.
After you play 2 up and have a couple of sausages on the Thursday. So big few days for all Australians. Quick TFR fantasy update for the listeners. So my round 13 total again, I don't know unless this was a misprint, was 87 again. I don't know how you end up with a odd number like that, but 87, taking my total to 1,024. I made no changes. And I had a couple of really high-scoring players in Josh Risdon, Robert Mack, and Ryan Williams, but no Captain Cummings and no Amalfitino really hurt me, as well as 3 of my bench players scored over 13, which was totally wasted. I never expected they'd do that, but good luck to them and bad luck to me. So that's me, 1,024 after 87 this round. What about you, VIG? What was your round 13 score?
Oh, mate, I think I've got the kiss of death because I did bring in the changes and I only ended up with 59 points, which takes my total to 973. So you're a distance. You're starting to creep away from me, and I can't even see your number plate up ahead. So you're flying at the moment. I've got the kiss of death because I brought in Andrew Redmayne. Absolute kiss of death. I brought in Craig Goodwin, and I also brought back Alex Wilkinson. Wilco did well for me. He got 8 points. I actually had Redmayne still. I brought him in for Izzo, but still had Redmayne on the bench anyway. And Craig Goodwin brought him in. Yeah, he got me 10 points, but not too bad. I expected a bit more from him, to be honest.
Why can't you bring some of this form into on the ball? Why do you save all your excellent form for on the ball, and when you come in here, you serve up this rubbish?
Yeah, I don't know. Callum Talbot hurt me. He was dropped to the bench, so he didn't play. And I got Amalfitano as well, who was dropped to the bench. So that's
I love
two players there
too. Because I said to you last week, hey mate, you've got all these trades, you've got all these guys that you can bring into your squad. Why don't you do it? You should be doing it. And when you didn't do anything over that Christmas period because you're enjoying your holiday season too much, you were flying, and now all of a sudden you've just hit an absolute speed hump.
I know. I think I overthought it. I wanted desperately to bring Craig Goodwin in. He's been on fire for the whole start of the season. So I shuffled the deck to get him in, and he got me 10 points. But I think I had to move a few other players out that maybe would have got me some points as well. So a few bad moves, but who knows? It's a new week this week, some big games, and hopefully my players can stand up and start to crawl that deficit back.
I know I've got the luck of the Irish because Nick Ansell hasn't played much since obviously injuring himself last year. He got double digits. Leo Lacroix, who's the king of home goals at the moment, he's been getting minor scores. He got double digits. And Jordan Holmes, who I brought in because I needed to save some money on a keeper to get rid of to switch him for Paul Izzo, who's been out injured. He gets double digits. So at the moment, I've got guys just with points galore, left, right, and centre. So look, anything can happen as we know. So one week you're flying like United, next week you've hit turbulence. So look, mate, it's only 50 odd points or whatever it is. So you can still actually run me down, but just be some smart shopping this week. If they missed any part of the show or want to listen to other episodes, where can they catch it?
Yeah, they can catch us on Football Nation Radio or all good podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and also up on our YouTube channel.
Mate, I forgot to mention this to you last week too. Obviously, we use little bits of snippets and stuff from our shout-outs, from some of the music, just so that listeners get a flavour of exactly what we're talking about rather than listening to us rub two sticks together. They get to hear actually, 10 seconds, which is totally legal of the track. But last week we were blocked in Russia. Now, I don't know how many listeners we got in Russia, but we were blocked in Russia. They told us that after they did their full check, there was a complaint and that, unfortunately, the show won't be airing in Russia. So to all our Russian listeners, I apologize. You can't listen to the show this week because it's totally been blocked on YouTube, or you can't actually watch the vodcast of our show. You can listen to the podcast, but you can't the vodcast. So I don't know how they worked that out, but there's absolutely, that could have been our what the foot. We were blocked in Russia.
Apologies. Oh, is that why we had 0 viewers this week? Because all our Russian fans weren't able to get on and watch the show.
As long as we're still being watched in the Ukraine, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Russia's in the bad books at the moment anyway, so we can let them be. But
I won't be
yeah.
losing any sleep over Russia being blocked and not being able to watch our show. But anyway, all right, there's plenty more A-League action this week. As we said, some cracking games, as well as the big blue on Thursday night, Australia Day. So happy Australia Day to all the Aussies out there. I hope you have a great day, whether it's with your family or friends, and you just get to enjoy a day off. I hope you enjoyed the show even half as much as we enjoy bringing it to you. And we look forward to you joining us again next Tuesday. Have a great weekend, a great long weekend, I guess, especially if you're going to chuck a sickie on Friday. Just don't tell your boss. But we'll catch you then. And until next week, as we say, rise up and join the football revolution. Have a great week. Catch you then.